Olivia Mercer never thought betrayal would come from the person she trusted most. For 20 years, she had built Vital Essence with everything she had: long nights, early mornings, sacrifices no one else saw. And standing beside her through it all was Julia Hayes, her best friend, her business partner, her sister in everything but blood. They had started with nothing. Olivia still remembered the early days, working out of a tiny rental space, surviving on instant coffee and raw ambition, falling asleep at their desks, dreaming about the future. They had built this company together, side by side. So when Olivia walked into the boardroom that morning, she had no reason to expect a knife in her back. She smiled at Julia as she took her seat. Julia smiled back. A lie wrapped in familiarity. Then, the meeting started. And Olivia's world collapsed. Effective immediately, the board has voted to remove you as CEO, Julia announced, her voice smooth, rehearsed. Planned. At first, Olivia thought she had misheard. I'm sorry, what? Julia's expression was carefully composed. It's nothing personal, Olivia. The company is evolving, and our investors believe that to stay competitive, we need new leadership. A fresh vision. Fresh. Olivia's stomach twisted. She turned to the board members, her board members. She had worked with these people for years. They wouldn't go along with this. Would they? Not one of them met her eyes. This is a joke, Olivia said, voice tight. I built this company. From nothing. I sacrificed. And you did an incredible job, Julia interrupted, her tone almost condescending. But let's be honest, Olivia. This industry is changing. Customers are younger, trends are faster. Investors want someone who understands that. Someone, current. Current. There it was. The truth beneath the corporate polish. This wasn't about vision. It wasn't about strategy. It was about age. They didn't think Olivia fit the brand anymore. She had seen this happen to so many women before her. Executives. Founders. Women who had built their own empires only to be told they had aged out of them. She never thought it would happen to her. You're making a mistake, Olivia said, her voice quieter now. Julia smiled. No, Olivia. I'm making history. The meeting ended. Just like that, Olivia was erased. The company she had spent 2 decades building was no longer hers. She walked out of the boardroom, feeling like a ghost. And Julia? Julia didn't even watch her leave. Olivia didn't remember driving home. One moment, she had been in that boardroom, staring at the people who had just erased her from her own company. The next, she was sitting in her driveway, fingers clenched so tightly around the steering wheel that her knuckles had turned white. She had spent 20 years building Vital Essence. It had been her life. And now? Now, she had nothing. The next few weeks passed in a haze. Her inbox overflowed with emails from reporters wanting a statement. Calls from old colleagues asking what had happened. Messages from friends offering sympathy, but none of them knew what to say. Because what do you say to a woman who's just been erased? She stayed home, avoiding the world, avoiding the headlines. Avoiding reality. She had signed a non-compete clause years ago, when she never imagined she'd need to worry about it. Now, that contract was a cage. It prevented her from working in wellness for at least 3 years. She couldn't fight for her company. She couldn't start over in the same industry. She couldn't be Olivia Mercer, CEO. So who was she now? Then, one afternoon, as she sat in a small cafe, she overheard a conversation at the next table. Did you hear? Vital Essence isn't the same anymore. I know. It's all about influencers now. They don't care about real women anymore. Exactly. I just want a place that understands us, you know? Like, something for women our age. Olivia froze. She turned, really looking at the women around her. Professionals, mothers, business owners, women like her. Women who had built their lives, their careers, their families, only to be told they were no longer the target audience. And suddenly, something inside her clicked. Julia had taken everything. But she had also left a gap in the industry. A gap that no one else was filling. The realization hit Olivia like a lightning strike. She wasn't out of the game. She was about to change the rules. Olivia had spent weeks drowning in loss, suffocated by the weight of what Julia had done. But now, as she sat at her kitchen table, staring at a blank notebook, something shifted. She had been fighting the wrong battle. Julia thought she had won by taking Vital Essence. But Olivia finally saw the truth: she wasn't supposed to fight for the past. She was supposed to build the future. She opened her laptop and started researching. The numbers backed up what she already knew: women over 40 were being ignored by the wellness industry. Everything catered to the young, the trendy, the Instagrammable. Products were designed for flawless skin, youthful bodies, as if aging were a disease to be cured. And now, with Julia's rebranding, Vital Essence had abandoned the very women who had built its success. So Olivia would give them something better. She scribbled down a name. Phoenix Spa Collective. Not just a company. A movement. A wellness brand created by women over 40, for women over 40. Real solutions. Real experiences. A space where aging wasn't something to fight, it was something to embrace. She started making calls. First, to her old suppliers. Some hesitated, afraid of Julia's power in the industry. But a few, the ones who truly respected her, agreed to work with her again. Then, to former employees. Women who had left Vital Essence when Julia took over. They were eager to join her. And finally, to investors. That was the hardest part. She walked into meeting after meeting, pitching her vision, her strategy, only to be met with smug smiles, skeptical glances, condescending remarks. "It's a nice idea, Olivia, but wellness is a young person's industry. Women your age don't drive trends. Do you really want to go up against Vital Essence?" She left those meetings furious but more determined than ever. They were wrong. Women her age had money. They had influence. And most importantly, they were tired of being ignored. So if the investors didn't believe in her, she would do it without them. She turned to crowdfunding. She shared her story, not as a CEO looking for money, but as a woman who had been cast aside and refused to disappear. And then something incredible happened. Her campaign went viral. Thousands of women flooded the comments. "Finally, a brand that understands us. I stopped going to Vital Essence after they pushed women like me out. Can't wait for this. Olivia, you built something amazing once. We believe in you. Do it again." Within weeks, she raised enough capital to open her first location. And just like that, Phoenix Spa Collective was born. This wasn't just about business anymore. This was about proving that women over 40 were not invisible. They were just getting started. The opening of Phoenix Spa Collective was unlike anything the industry had seen before. There was no anti-aging rhetoric, no false promises of reversing time, no desperation to appeal to a younger audience. Instead, it was a space designed for the women who had been forgotten, the ones who had built careers, raised families, shaped industries, and were now being told they were no longer relevant. The branding was bold, unapologetic. The message was clear. Wellness for the women who built this world. From the moment the doors opened, the demand was overwhelming. Women flooded in, not just clients, but influencers, journalists, industry veterans who had been quietly pushed aside as they aged. Within weeks, Phoenix Spa Collective was everywhere. Articles poured in from Forbes, Vogue, The Wall Street Journal, all asking the same question. How did Olivia Mercer redefine wellness at 52? But while Olivia's name was rising, Vital Essence was falling apart. Julia had made a fatal miscalculation. She had built the new version of Vital Essence around youth, trends, influencers, chasing a demographic that had no loyalty, no long-term investment in the brand. Customers came and went. Trends changed too fast. The core foundation of what had once made Vital Essence successful, the women who had believed in it, were gone. Because they had followed Olivia. The numbers started slipping. At first, Julia ignored them. A bad quarter, a slow season. It would turn around. But then the investors started asking questions. And then, they started pulling out. The cracks in Julia's empire widened. Staff turnover skyrocketed. Negative reviews flooded in. The company tried to pivot, but it was too late. The women who had once built Vital Essence's success had found a new home. And one morning, as Olivia sat in her office reviewing expansion plans, her assistant walked in, holding up her phone. "You're not going to believe this." It was an email. From Julia. The subject line? "Can we talk?" Olivia leaned back in her chair, a slow smile forming. She already knew why Julia was reaching out. Vital Essence was sinking. And now, Julia needed her help. Olivia let the email sit in her inbox for 3 days. She wasn't in a hurry. For the first time in months, she was the one in control. She went about her days as usual, checking in on her locations, finalizing expansion plans, filming a new video for Phoenix Spa Collective's growing social media presence. The world was moving forward. And Julia? Julia was desperate. On the 4th day, Olivia finally responded. "Meet me at Phoenix. 10 a.m. Let's talk." When Julia arrived, she was unrecognizable. Her usual effortless composure? Gone. Her sleek, polished confidence? Cracked. She looked exhausted, like a woman who had spent months trying to hold together something that was already broken. There was no designer power suit this time, just tired eyes, a forced smile, and hands that trembled slightly as she reached for her coffee. "Olivia," she started, her voice softer than before. "Thank you for seeing me." Olivia didn't respond right away. She simply gestured for Julia to sit. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, Julia exhaled, her fingers tightening around the cup. "Vital Essence is in trouble," she admitted. "Investors are pulling out, customers are leaving. I made mistakes." She forced a small laugh, but it sounded hollow. "Turns out, people don't want a wellness brand that pretends they don't exist after 40. Olivia tilted her head slightly. "You don't say." Julia hesitated, searching for the right words. "Look, Olivia. I know I hurt you. I was wrong. But we built something great together once. Maybe we can fix this." There it was. Julia wasn't just asking for advice. She wasn't just admitting failure. She was asking for a way out. She wanted Olivia to come back, to salvage what was left of the company she had stolen. A year ago, Olivia would have wanted this moment to feel like revenge. She would have wanted to see Julia beg, to throw her own words back at her, "You had a good run, but you're past your prime." But Olivia had already won. She didn't need to destroy Julia. Julia had done that all on her own. She let the silence stretch, watching as Julia's desperation turned into unease. Then, Olivia smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "I have a better idea." And with that, she slid a contract across the table. Julia hesitated before reaching for the contract, her fingers trembling slightly as she flipped through the pages. Olivia watched, calm, composed, fully aware that she was in complete control of this moment. "What is this?" Julia's voice was wary, her eyes scanning the document. "An offer," Olivia said smoothly, taking a sip of her tea. Julia frowned. "You want to buy Vital Essence?" Olivia tilted her head slightly. "Not exactly. The contract wasn't a buyout. It was a complete absorption. If Julia signed, Vital Essence would cease to exist as an independent company. Its remaining assets, the few loyal clients, the fading brand recognition, whatever was left of its credibility, would be folded into Phoenix Spa Collective. Julia would be out. Permanently. Julia's breath hitched. You can't be serious, she whispered. You want to erase the company we built? Olivia's smile didn't waver. No, Julia. You did that. I'm just cleaning up the mess you made. Julia swallowed hard, looking down at the contract, then back at Olivia. For the first time, there was real fear in her eyes. I built this company too. Her voice was smaller now, barely a whisper. Olivia leaned in, her voice steady. You stole it, Julia. And look where that got you. Silence. Julia's hands clenched around the contract, her pride warring with the cold, hard reality in front of her. She had no other options. Investors wouldn't save her. The board had already lost faith. Her reputation was in ruins. The industry had moved on. Phoenix Spa Collective was dominating the market, and Olivia didn't need Vital Essence to succeed. But Julia needed Olivia to survive. And that was the difference between them. Slowly, painfully, Julia picked up the pen. With one final, shaky breath, she signed away everything. The second her name hit the paper, Olivia exhaled, a slow wave of satisfaction settling over her. Not revenge. Not even victory. Just justice. Julia set the pen down, staring at the contract as if it were her own obituary. So, that's it? She asked quietly. Olivia stood, gathering the papers and slipping them neatly into a folder. That's it. She turned to leave, but then hesitated, looking over her shoulder one last time. Oh, and Julia? Olivia's voice was soft, but firm. Julia lifted her head, her eyes hollow. I guess you were right about one thing, Olivia continued, smiling as she reached for the door. You really did make me stronger. And with that, she walked away, owning not just the company, but the entire industry. A month later, Olivia stood on the main stage of the Women in Business Summit, a sleek conference hall buzzing with industry leaders, journalists, and aspiring entrepreneurs. The spotlight was on her, but this time, she didn't feel like she had to prove anything. She had already won. The screen behind her displayed two images. On the left, Vital Essence, its logo now a footnote under the Phoenix Spa Collective brand. On the right, a headline from the Wall Street Journal. How Olivia Mercer took back an industry that tried to erase her. She smiled, scanning the crowd. They told me I was too old to lead this industry. Her voice was steady, confident. That my ideas were outdated. That women like me weren't marketable anymore. A ripple of knowing laughter spread through the audience, because every woman in the room had felt it. But the truth? Women over 40 aren't fading into the background. We're just getting started. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Olivia took a breath, feeling the weight of her journey, not as a burden, but as proof of what she had built. And then, her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant. You're not going to believe this. Attached was an email. A buyout offer. From one of the biggest global wellness conglomerates. 8 figures. Full acquisition. If she accepted, Phoenix Spa Collective wouldn't just dominate the US, it would go international. She locked her phone, heart steady. She had fought to get here. Fought for every woman who had been told they didn't belong anymore. Now, Olivia Mercer decided what happened next. And this time, the world was watching. This story isn't just about Olivia, it's about a reality so many women face. Too often, women over 40 are told that their time has passed, that they're no longer relevant, that they should step aside for a younger generation. But Olivia's journey proves one thing: experience, resilience, and wisdom will always be more powerful than temporary trends. She didn't let betrayal define her. She didn't let the system push her into obscurity. Instead, she rewrote the rules and took back everything they tried to take from her, on her own terms. But now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Olivia handled Julia the right way? Should she have helped Julia rebuild, or did Julia deserve to lose everything? And what about ageism in business? Have you ever seen or experienced something like this? Comment 2 if you loved how Olivia fought back, or 7 if you think the story should have ended differently. Let's start a conversation. If you love stories about revenge, resilience, and powerful comebacks, hit the like button and subscribe to True Tales. Our storyteller, Natalie, brings you new inspiring videos every single day. Don't miss out on the next one.